And out of that brief, you are usually kind of free to create your own ideas, and hopefully they will like that. So I'm gonna talk you through this assignment, which is a made-up assignment, kind of not, but so I got this assignment a while back. It's a very common topic that I have illustrated a few times, and it's about technical our usage of digital tools and how screens affects us and our brains. So this text is about how to minimize the time at our screens. And since this whole live session is a compressed version of a real life assignment, I will just quickly talk to you about my idea process, because it's hard to show that. What I usually do is that I read through the text that I'm given, and in a very like I divide the text into parts, and then I kind of try to find the essence of the text by highlighting different words, writing them into another document, and stuff like that. And usually this is the part of the creative process that is, I mean, it depends like how creative I feel like I am. Like if it's Monday morning at 8 o'clock, I probably have a harder time coming up with an idea that is fun and creative. Um, but I think it's really important to have a very, very like almost formal way of looking at ideas, because it's all, I would say, impossible to work as an illustrator and just like sit around and wait for inspiration and for the ideas to come to you. So what I usually do is that I read the text, I analyze it, I choose which parts of the text that talks to me. It's usually parts that are easier to come up with like mental pictures to. And then I just think like, I mean, I think it's important to open an empty canvas and just like stare at it. That's what I usually do. Like I open a Photoshop document and then I just stare at it. I also do a lot of image searches just to see images and hope that any of those will spark my imagination. But trying to find the essence of the text is mainly what editorial illustration is about. So for this text, which is a kind of generic text about how to limit our usage of screens, iPads, iPhones, stuff like that, I've already come up with an idea, because it would be kind of boring for you to watch me sit and watch my screen. So I'm gonna ask Lydia here to share my screen. Thank you. And I will try to answer questions along the way if you have any. So please just fire away. So I created this document called editorial, and this is actually a kind of typical size for a full page illustration. What I usually do, the first thing I do before I start my creative process is a kind of boring thing, but it's like a thing that I do now, and it's I add bleed to the document. So, oh, so not that. Oh. I'm very nervous at drawing and showing you how I'm drawing, so I'm gonna forget all my shortcuts here. So here we go. Image size, and just add 3 millimeters around, which with my math sucks. There you go. Okay. Sorry about my math. So this is not how I do it. This is where I do it. Sorry for being nervous. I'm just a human being. Please forgive me. There you go. I don't even do this at this point. I add a new layer and then I do this. Da, 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 da. So usually it takes me like 2 seconds to do this. Oh, please shoot me now. All right, so let's just we skipped that part. I can't do math. I can't do math and draw at the same time. So let's just start. Add a new layer. We'll add the bleed later on. I usually use a tool called Brushbox in Photoshop. It's a very good tool to collect your brushes. And since Kyle T. Webster, now his brushes is available in Photoshop, you can just add them into your interface and also get this brush box. So what I usually do is take one of my favorites. This is like my favorite brushes. And then I'll sketch up my idea. So my idea is to draw a smartphone here. Since I'm, as you can see, kind of nervous still. What are we? 10 minutes in. Let's hope this gets better. Otherwise, my lines are going to get all squiggly. Actually, I'm going to do. So I have this idea about iPhone. This is the old iPhone. iPhone 5, maybe. I don't know how phones look nowadays. I remember when the feature, the shortcut R, like rotate your canvas, when it came to Photoshop, it was such a blessing. Because then it's almost like drawing by hand. So this is just the sketch. And the idea is to have the phone serve as a window. So I'm thinking here like a set of blinds that someone is pulling down. All right. So we have a person here, big head. Pulling the blinds. And this part is usually like where this is, everything should be allowed here. So if I draw a really hideous character, it's allowed because this is supposed to be the fun part. Especially if I would remember how to add bleed to a document, but now I couldn't because my brain left at 5. Illustration is like working as an illustrator is actually a lot of fun, but I do know that a lot of illustrators, they have a hard time somewhat distancing themselves from their jobs. Like I think that goes with any like creative job, just keeping it separate from your normal life. I mean, having kids definitely helps you divide work time from free time, but I think it's hard to separate yourself. Like usually my kids come home and they're like, so let's draw something, and I'm like, can I send an invoice to either of you guys? All right. So this is this is an ugly sketch. This is probably not a sketch that I would send to a client. I would probably just like finish it up more. But since we don't really have that time now, this is the idea, and let's start turning this into a finished illustration instead. So hopefully it won't look like crap. But this is the idea. The idea is we have here the iPhone or the iPad serving as a window, and someone is closing the blinds. They're limiting screen time. So sketch is called skiss in Swedish. So what I usually do, always name your layers, because it's always hard to keep track of all the layers, especially like when you work in Photoshop. You tend to add a lot of layers, and if you're gonna have a hard time just going through them, it's easier if you name them and group them. So I name the layers, put the opacity at around 10, enough for you to see the sketch. So this is usually like where I start constructing my image. So what I usually do is I add new layers all the time, new layers. And let's do this. Do this really old iPhone. I think like a lot of symbols that are used in illustration are they are dated. Like if you have like a symbol of a trail track, probably see that you have that. I don't know that word in English. The first thing on a train. It's called lok in Swedish. But trains they don't look like that anymore. But that's like a symbol of a train. And I think it's the same thing with phones. So you had the phones with a cord, and then they turned into, those really cool mobile phones with an antenna, like in the Matrix, when they have that flip phone. So that was like the symbol a while, like if you would see like a government or someone having like mobile-free zone. You'd see that little thing with an antenna. So I think that what I'm saying is that right now I'm stuck in, when did iPhone 5 come? Like, could it be like 4 years ago? So I'm stuck 4 years ago when I'm trading phones. They don't look like this, I know that. But the symbol can still be a symbol even if it's not accurate. That's why it's a symbol. So I think that if I were to ask my kids, what is this? They would probably say that it was a phone. But they would probably say that about an old phone with a cord as well. So I don't know what I'm trying to prove here. Okay, drawing phones are really hard. That's like the new car. Cars are horrible. I mean, they're not. I mean, yes, they are horrible, but I think there are certain people that have managed to get a character out of a car. I think that's the hardest thing, like creating characters of dead objects, especially cars. Because if you have managed to create a character, then you can like play around and have fun with it. And I think cars, I don't know. All right, we're all crooked here, but hey, I can adjust it a little bit. I don't think that Apple would mind. Do you? All right, that's good enough. Let's add the, no. There we go. See the sketch. And what I usually do, like when I'm creating shapes, is that I mask the sketch. Then I can focus on the things that I haven't done yet. All right. Let's see here. It's also like when I'm at this part of the process that I'm listening to podcasts, or I was gonna say that this is where when I can talk to people, obviously this isn't. Maybe this is the part in the creative process where I can listen to people. Because talking, I was just at the hairdresser earlier today and I talked to her about how it is to have a profession where you talk all the time at the same time as working. And I was so amazed that she was able to do that. Because I just end up like saying the same things, but like really slowly. I really admire those people doing tutorials. I don't know if I admire them per se, but I feel that they have a skill that I lack. I really like doing these little butt cheeks. Every time when I draw characters, I like doing these little flared pants, that little butt. Creating a character out of that butt. Alright. Let's do some choose. The good thing about drawing digitally is that you can make all the mistakes all the time, and it's much more time efficient this way. All right. You're probably noticing that I'm zooming in and out a lot. And that's because it's really good, like, it's really good to get perspective. Like a lot of, especially when you're doing like covers, it's really good to get a perspective to see how it would look like far away. Then you can see if it's like totally off. Sometimes like the sense of where an image is centered, I think that's usually like a thing where everything tilts because I don't know, you're off in your head. But if you like switch the image or you zoom out or you um, like rotate it like upside down, you can usually see like if it's all like, look at this phone now. Okay, so let's hide this character. So what the F is going on over here? I didn't see that when when it was the other way around. So that's a good tool. We can't read this into details now. This is a compressed version, so I'm just showing you that zooming in and out can be really good. All right, so we have our little character here. Let's do a line. As soon as I feel like I have control of this image of my life, I'll see if I can answer any of your questions. Right now, I just feel like I'm stressed out, but trying not to let that take the best of me. And as I told you in the beginning, like usually the idea process, the sketch process is a really, really big part of working editorial and also like communicating, like how you communicate your sketches to your clients and to yourself. That can be really time consuming. So now it's like it's like when you know those chefs you see on TV. So I have prepared this already. And I'm like, so I prepared the hardest part of the illustration already. Coming up with an idea just magically appeared in my head. That's not reality. There's no such thing. Okay, details. Like this is how it is to be working. I remember when I was at school and I studied illustration in Baltimore. And my teacher there, he said like, so working with magazines and working editorial can be like, they call you up on Friday evening and they say like, we want a finished illustration by Monday morning. And I thought that was like, that was how it was going to be. I mean, it does happen, and it probably happens more like in certain with certain clients, but it's not usually that. You don't have a lot of time, so it's good if you work fast, but usually you get more than a weekend. I don't work weekends. You shouldn't work weekends. You should be off doing something else. Okay, that's a weird arm. All right, she's pulling the string. Let's make this lines. I can really recommend these brushes, playing around with the brushes. Like, I remember also, like, I used to draw not on the computer in the beginning when I was starting out, because that was how I was taught how to draw. And then I scanned everything, but it just became more time consuming. And I think that's the sad part. That's the sad part about illustrations that you make for magazines. They're usually like, you have to be fairly quick at creating them, so you can't really. I mean, there are of course illustrators that work with a pen and a paper and they scan everything, and hurrah for them, and I applaud them and everything. I like, for me, it just isn't that time efficient. And time efficient meaning expensive. So I'm sorry if that sounds very tragic. Okay, I don't know how these lines are looking. Okay, since I'm all not in my usual whale sounding environment, I have of course forgotten to name my layers. I can see them there. I have this thing when I'm done with an illustration, I create a new layer. That's the last thing I do. I create a new layer, and that layer should always be named layer 1. Then I know that there aren't any layers that I forgot to name. Okay. This I do sometimes, just copy, like transform it. I try not to do that, but hey, this is how we do it today. When we're breathing, when the deadline that we just made up is breathing down our neck, we can do that. Usually I don't. All right, good enough. Let's transform it up there. Blah blah blah. All right, let's add them. Call them persienner. This is a combined Swedish and editorial illustration lesson. That's here. All right. And now let's do those strings. Someone with OCD is going to be like, you didn't name all the layers. You're right. I have to finish what I started. Arm. Call it arm. It's the same in Swedish. All right. So as you can see, you should name the layers. Why you are. Okay. iPhone. Right. See, there we go. Okay, let's mask, demask more sketch. It's almost like Jack, I feel like Jack Bauer now. I can relate to him. 24. We have one editorial illustration and it needs to be done today. Oh, let's not do that. Let's add another. That's too small. Yeah, let's go ahead and use that. Right, here are the strings. I mean, of course, you have the way to like spend a lot of time with details if you want, if you're not diffusing a bomb. All right, good enough. Another string here. I had a teacher once that always said that I was aligning things without noticing, and since she told me that I'm doing that, I can't help but see it. See here? Like I had to draw that, and that's just not right. You shouldn't do that. You should like have it way. That's actually something you can think of. Not aligning. Oh, moving the wrong. Because I hadn't named it. Alright. That doesn't look like she's pulling that string. It needs to be straight. Okay. What's going on with her hand? What is this? I don't know. Let's do something else here. Okay, so hands are also like in the same thing, like just like cars can be really hard. Hands can be hard as well. Because I don't know, like how would you hold your hand? Probably. I mean, you wouldn't clench a fist. Very angry. Yeah, maybe like that. Sometimes you have to like try out the poses and the facial expressions yourself just to see if that's how it feels like. How does it feel to put down the blinds on a giant iPhone 5? Well, don't know that. All right, and as I can see here, this I have to just adjust this a little bit. And now I want to add some shades. Lines. A shade of it all. All right, now I feel that I'm not throwing up anymore. So maybe I can take a question, try to answer that. Do you use a drawing pad or draw directly on the computer with a mouse? I use a Wacom tablet. I think like maybe my first 2 jobs I drew with a mouse, and I mean that's just uh, that's just amazing if people can draw stuff with their mouse. I mean, it's so hard. So once again, I applaud you guys being able to draw stuff with your mouse. No, I use a Wacom tablet. It's a Wacom Intuos Medium for you nerds. I Yeah, that was probably an answer, right? How many layers do I usually work with? Um, it depends, but there are probably like a couple hundreds. It depends on like the detail of the image, but I'd rather have too many than too few, because layers is the one key that helps you like adjusting an image afterwards. Like today, I was doing a cover illustration for a Swedish author union. I don't know. Anyway, so they needed a few changes made, and since I was working in layers, it was so much easier to just like change it and switch it up. And that's, I would say, it's efficient, and it's also easier working digitally and instead of like drawing and scanning. So yeah, a lot. What shortcuts do I use a lot? Command Z, like what the hell went wrong? Um, no, I use like all the tools, like the brush, Command R, like for the ruler, if I wanna, like, if I want to add a ruler for the center fold, that's something that I usually do. I do have the ruler there. Also, like rotating and drawing is something that I use a lot. Um, but other than that, just no. My most common uh, shortcut is Command S, because saving. I live on an island, and we have a lot of those electric whatever breaks, and I work on an iMac, and so I've been sitting there and just like clenching my fist because the power went off and I didn't save. So that's what I use all the time. Yeah. How do you stay true to a style but still satisfy picky clients? That is a good question. It's hard. I mean, it's easier. It's easier down the line because then you have like, if you are more established, they probably know your style and they contact you because they see something in your style. I mean, I have adjusted my style over the years, and I have a few clients that I can always like try that new style out with because they like my ideas. And I think even though I have like changed my style a bit, I think you can see that it's still me and it's still like my kind of characters. But like if you have clients that are like, so um, can you do like his work or her work? You just say no. I mean, if they want a certain artist's work and that kind of style, I mean, they should just contact that person directly. I think it's hard, of course, in the beginning because you want to please a client. Uh, all we want to do is please our clients. No, but we want to please our clients. And but I think that's not reasonable. That's not reasonable for them to ask for like a completely different style. I think you should like try to um, try to make them see how fun it could be if you have something else. But yeah, picky clients. They're always going to be picky clients. Yeah. Best application to use, Illustrator or Photoshop? I mean, that's just a matter of like how you prefer to create your like Illustrator. You work mostly in vectors. I suck at Illustrator. I tried it out when I was in school, but I mean, I can't. I think that like for just like in terms of using um, like creating editorial illustration. I mean, I think you can use whatever style. You can also like draw on a paper and scan it. But I think maybe it could be easier. Like if you work in advertising, I think it's so much easier if you work with vectors because you can like scale the thing. When you work editorial, it's usually just a one-time. They print the image one time, so you don't really have to scale it. Um, so I think that is probably easier to, well, it's easier for me to use Photoshop, but it's, I think also like for an analog feel, like drawing instead of creating shapes. But what do I know? I don't know all the things you can do in Illustrator. So yeah. Do you ever start with a scanned sketch? Um, Not anymore. I used to do that. Well, it depends. Like if I get struck by this perfect idea, which is just pure brilliance, and I'm not at my computer, yes, I do draw on a pen and a paper. But no, I wish I feel so insecure. Maybe I'm like back in where I started feeling insecure about with a pencil. I think it's like everything is like no going back when you draw analog. Like you draw that line and then it's there. And I'm like, I want to change it. So look at that little butt. Okay, being sexist on my own drawing. My question is about colors, how to find or create a color palette that represent me. I used to follow the color trends. Do you have some advice for that? Thank you. Well, thank you for asking that question. I used to be really afraid of colors. Um, I really had a hard time like finding or being comfortable finding colors. Um, but then I started like just getting inspiration from other artists, and I think there are some artists out there that really, they're amazing at choosing colors. So usually I start by um, maybe trying out that color palette, and then I switch one color up, and then I'm just like trying to get a feel of it. I think it's all about like practice and not feeling that it's right or wrong, because it's so easy to feel that you have to create this perfect palette from the beginning. You don't. I mean, um, it's all about just having fun exploring colors and seeing how much an image can change when you are using different color palettes, because an entire image can just switch, like the entire feel of the image can switch just by like inverting the colors. So that's one thing that I talk a lot about in my Domestika course. Um, just a little advertising there, is just how much an image can change when you're adjusting your color palette. So my tip, what is my tip? I was just rambling here. My tip would be to be inspired, go on to Pinterest. Um, Pinterest is good for a lot of things, especially color palettes. And just like try it out, borrow some colors, and then try to like add another, see what happens. Also work like with contrasting colors, and also the placement of the colors, which if I have the time, I'm going to show you. So, okay, we're reaching something here. Let's see here. I'm just going to finish this up, and then I can answer some more questions. Okay, so we're gonna layer mask. I'm gonna add some light. Let there be light. I think you can also like you don't forget about um, shades, lighting, shadows, because all of that creates like depth, and that's really, it can really like create something fun and add another layer to your layers. Okay, let's see here. Let's do that here as well. Let's add some shadow. Okay, and then we have, I think I have to plug in, because since I'm being such a professional, my battery is almost dead at my phone. I can't calculate math, and I can't add bleed, but hey, I'm still a human being. Okay, shadow. Okay, sorry. I'm suddenly writing in English. Skugga. Swedish. Alright, let's add some shadows here as well. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's called Natural Feel Super. That's such an amazing brush to use for shadows and for backgrounds. And I have another favorite of mine. It's called Glazer's Edge. And as you can see, I am creating the image with shapes first and in grayscale, just because I find it very distractive to be looking at colors at this point. So what I'm doing now is just like adding shapes, and since when we have the shapes, you can just lock the pixels and you can start coloring the thing. You can start coloring the shapes. All right. There we go. We're almost at the finish line. Jack Bauer should be so proud of me. I think I haven't been this stressed out in weeks. I just came back from my vacation. Now this. Look how beautiful this brush is. Natural feels super. It's all about being natural these days, right? All right, one more question. How long did it take for you to develop your style? Well, it still isn't done, so, well, it's still evolving. See here. Okay, I'm gonna answer your question. I just saw something that this is what happens if you lock your pixels and you start drawing anyway. So you have to mask it off. Okay, I'm gonna answer the question. It took a while. I mean, I started off doing a lot of collages. I had a lot of fun, like copying and pasting, like facial features to a character and creating characters through that style, which I really thought was a lot of fun to do. I think I've always done characters with a somewhat big head and a kind of like hunchback kind of posture to them, and small feet. Um, but it took a while. I think I started out drawing things with a pencil and just uh, exploring characters, trying to just see what characters I had in my head. But then, like after a while, you kind of get boring of your own style. That's for me anyway. I feel like if I feel like I'm doing the same image over and over again, I have to switch something up. And usually it's all about switching up the characters, or it could be like go cleaner in your image, or go adding more texture, or switching up colors, or something like that. But I think that it's a constant process, and it's like developing your personality. Hopefully, you're not like done. Like at some point, you keep like evolving. That's at least a goal that I have. All right. Finally, we have the basics. Now, uh, since I'm all about preparing, I have prepared a color palette here. Just gonna place it here. Go there, little fella. And then I'm gonna start coloring. So this is what you can do when you have locked your pixels. See, and of course, this is not how fast it takes to like choose colors. This is just, it's just about the same way. It doesn't take that an hour to cook a steak. But for now, let's pretend. Let's pretend. Okay. Maybe. Well, maybe blue. Okay. And then, of course, you can switch it up. Now I realize that I have forgotten something. I'm gonna copy these, invert them, and this. Because this is an old iPhone, and they have, I know, modern iPhones, they have screens all the way to the, this is an old iPhone. Maybe they got it in a thrift store. Okay, make like that. This blue and yellow is somewhat troubling, I feel, because it's the Swedish flag colors. Okay, so I hadn't really decided where all the colors should go, obviously, because this is taking I don't know, what am I doing? Okay, let's do this just for the sake of it. Not really happy with this. Let's maybe I should try one of the other palettes. Yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna switch it up. Do I have the time? Okay. Didn't like that one at all. Okay, so I'm doing this. Yeah, so this could be like how usually I do like a lot of different variations, and then I ask my husband. I send him a lot of emails, and I'm like, "Did you check it yet? Did you check your email?" Or I like go after him, and I'm like, "Choose." Go. I think we're closing in on something. Alright. Yeah, that's good enough. Alright, almost done. Almost done. Got to lock the pixels. That didn't look any green. No. All right. I think we are reaching an end. We have diffused the bomb. Almost. There we go. Okay, maybe a little bit fast. Yes. All right. So good enough. Oh, sorry, forgot the air. Okay. Okay. So this is not usually the stressed out. This is the stressed out version of how I would finish an assignment like this. Um, I don't know. I hope you saw something that wasn't just me stressing out about talking and drawing at the same time. Maybe we can finish this off with a few questions and then I can go lie in a corner and cry. Do you have any more questions? How did you start to contact clients, or did they contact you first? Do you have any advice for people that are just starting in editorial illustration? Well, thank you, Stefania, for your question. Yes, I contacted a lot of clients in the beginning. I went to, because somehow I thought that I was doing editorial illustration from the beginning. So I went to like a newspaper and magazine store, and then I was just like looking through them and writing down all the contact information for the art directors. And I just like, I mean, this was 13 years ago, so I was just like emails, like no social media, no skills whatsoever. But yeah, I did that a lot actually in the beginning. And also like throughout the years, I did that like if work was low. Um, Nowadays, fortunately, I don't have to embarrass myself because I really suck at writing emails. I mean, I'm impressed by all the people handling like social media accounts and doing all these wonderful things. I'm just like in awe. I think I'm too old. Which book do you think is a good for beginners editorial illustration? I actually haven't read that many books on editorial illustration. Um, I would probably try to read like interviews with illustrators instead because that is usually more accurate, and then you can get like a whole lot of different variety of answers. So if you have like a couple of editorial illustrators that you like, um, I would probably like just Google them and see if they have like made an interview somewhere and just like see how their perspective is. And also like maybe like get a mentor or something like that can help you like in the beginning. I think that would have helped me a lot. Sorry, I missed the first part of the live, and I don't know if you have answered this, but how do you arrive to an idea to illustrate that is simple but powerful at the same time, like this one? Well, thank you. Um, well, that's the thing. I couldn't really show you how my brain works, but um, I mean, I try to like really narrow down, like I really try to find the essence of the text, like really um, trying to um, find like what is it about, like simplify it, like simplify, and then like coming up with synonyms for that simplification and then creating like images for that synonym. So even though it kind of sounds complex or whatever, it's really easy. Like if you have a text and then you just like, what is it about? A lot of things is about relationship. So like in the span of relationship, you can do like a lot of different things that doesn't have to involve like two people. It can be like a relationship, can be relationship between objects or a relationship between like animals or trees or whatever, you know, and then use like symbols to enhance that idea, I think. Any tips for working at home as an illustrator when you have kids? Get a babysitter. Um, no, like working, you kind of need to have the kids aware of you. We did like me and my kids when I was home working and they were here, we did like this very like for them visual like plan, almost like they do in like preschools, like a visual plan for them. Like the schedule was very visual, and then I made like this little faces with magnets that we put on the refrigerator, so they are aware and they are a part of the day. So we had the areas where mom needed to be like alone with the computer and focus. My kids are 5.5 and 7, but they still need for me to hear that right now I need you guys to play alone because I need to focus and it's only for 2 hours or an hour or 30 minutes. And then we can, you know, do stuff. And I had like breaks where we had like a snack or whatever. But I think it's really important for them to get like a visual to see that now it's a big chunk of, you know, mom working. So I think helping them visualize time. What are your plans for the future connected with illustration? And if you plan any new course on Domestika, we want continuation. I do also want continuation. Um, I don't know, like, I think the whole, I'm trying to land a little bit in this. It was really hard to like um, communicate how I work. I haven't like talked to anybody in 13 years about how I work. So, and I think like a lot of illustrators, they are not very used to like showing their process, I think. So I had a really hard time like, what do I do? Like, who am I? I mean, this whole thing was like a soul searching thing for me. Like I didn't know like what can I teach? Like doing stuff like you started like um, just questioning yourself. But I do want to do more courses. But we'll see. Maybe soon something else. I think my sister just called me because we're doing yin yoga because I need to stress down after this. So, sorry. Um, so maybe, I don't know, we should wrap this up. Um, I want to thank everyone for participating, and I would love to, I can of course answer any questions that you might have, either like on the Facebook page, or if you get in touch with me on Instagram or something like that, and I can of course answer any questions. Um, Make sure to check out my course if you're interested in learning a little bit more. This is like the compressed version, but maybe like the extended version of how to be able to, uh, I don't know, make it editorial illustrations. I mean, the idea process is still like, it's hard to communicate, but yeah, hopefully you'll get some tools along the way. So I want to thank you everyone for watching, and I'm sorry I couldn't add bleed in the beginning. I was too stressed out. Yeah, so thank you so much.
La idea es como algo muy frágil.
Se me fue la hebra.
I'm going to show you some examples. This is what we've got behind me.
¿Qué más preguntas tengo por aquí? ¿Cómo descubriste que lo tuyo era